Because the white supremacists don't really have culture, when they dominate and control people, they have to consume their culture. And their identity and their culture is based off the subjugation of melanated people. So dominating us and controlling us and stealing from us is their culture.
I can't be that, so I want to be like that. How do I become like that? I then learn what it knows, and then I have to destroy it and take its place.
You know, because what happens traditionally is when people come through to take over, they wipe out your religion, they take over your whole memory of everything that made your DNA, and they make you think that you're number two, when in actuality, you was number one.
There is no such thing as a straight Caucasian culture, okay? If you want to look at the culture or the historical framework of how they've lived their lives, what they've done, it deals with murder, it deals with a lot of bloodshed, it deals with living in the caves, in the Caucasus Mountains, it deals in eating raw things crawling on the walls, it deals in all of this defecation, not knowing how to bury their dead, not knowing how to stand upright, they crawled on all fours, all of these different things. So their culture wasn't really anything dealing with something that they could leave as a legacy, for instance. So they had to imitate, they had to emulate in order for them to legitimize themselves as a human reality.
Well, you know, Dr. Welsing was one of our great warrior queens. And interesting thing, Dr. Welsing's idea is that because Europeans are a tiny minority on planet Earth, they become concerned about being able to maintain themselves on the planet. Because they're concerned, because the simple sex act, she said, could actually wipe them out. So what she said was that they created a system of white supremacy, and that they put white supremacy into all areas of people activity, which she named education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, etc. And she said that this concern about being able to be killed off was because they lacked melanin. Because if this, again, the simple sex act would bring about a child who was of color. So what Dr. Welsing was saying is that they consume these dark things like chocolate and coffee to sort of make up for the missing melanin that they don't have.
There's a book called The Delectable Negro that documents the cannibalizing of Black people, especially during slavery. It talks about how in white European culture, the white supremacist culture, that they've always had this thing about literally consuming Black people, Black flesh. During slavery, when they had the big rebellion with Nat Turner, he was cannibalized after they killed him. They ate him. During a lot of lynchings, they would cook and barbecue people, and they would actually eat the people that they would lynch. So this was something that was a part of the white supremacist culture, consuming us literally.
Because they know you are what you eat. So if a white man eats you or eat me, he believes that he becomes us. And I know it's strange because I conquered them, but I'm going to devour what I've conquered.
I mean, a lot of the mummies that was taken out of Africa was taken to Europe and sold, and they used it as medicine, and they used it as aphrodisiacs. They ate our dead people's bodies. And cannibalizing us is nothing new. That whole concept of cannibalism comes from Europe. You don't find any instances of cannibalism in Africa or Asia.
Yes, they do it. They do that right now. Those are considered delicacy among certain high groups of Caucasians to eat the Black man's heart or his brain. All of those were designed to try to get your strength any kind of way they could. So they felt if they ate your heart or they ate your brain, that they would be able to gain your strength in that way. Listen, we're living in a country right now where 44 of the 50 states still allow the eating of cats and dogs. People don't talk about that because we put that on the Asians. Oh, they eat the cat and dog. No, they're not the only ones. You got white people all over this country that's eating cats and dogs, and that's why the law is on the book. That's 44 states. It's still legal to eat cats and dogs. And you know how they love their pets, but they eating them.
The central issue here is not the cannibalism itself, it's just that they prided themselves on certain parts of the body. If you defeat your enemy, you eat their heart. And today they give a purple heart to soldiers coming out of cannibalism.
During the Jim Crow era, they would have foods that would be associated with black people. We see the remnants of that now. We see like Aunt Jemima pancakes and Uncle Ben's rice and all that. But even back then, that was very popular, of having black people associated with all these foods and black people on the boxes of all these foods. Not just because black people were the cooks. We assumed that they would have black people on these products because they cooked the products. But they had things like nigger head oysters because they said the oysters' heads look like black people. They had nigger babies candy, this chocolate candy. They had Brazil nuts, which were called nigger toes. So this was something that was real popular in the white supremacist culture, relegating black people to edible products in order to consume symbolically and literally black flesh.
Our bodies are so robust and strong, and our memory is intact, and we can do things that they had never seen any other human being do before. So they thought, well, if I consume him or her, I will be able to do everything that he or she does and possibly better.
Certain Europeans, they believe that certain body parts harvested certain energies, like power or courage or ferocity. So it was no thing to kill a lion, to eat its heart, if I believe that the ferocity of the lion is in his heart. So I'll eat the lion heart, and then I'll call myself Richard the Lionheart. I'm ferocious. I'm powerful, like that lion that I devoured.
And cannibalism is nothing new to the European. In fact, if you go to Germany, this is an absolute fact, you can look it up, you can legally eat somebody so long as that person consents to it. It's a fact. Look this up. In Germany, you can legally eat someone so long as the person being eaten consents to it. Now, when you see a law like that, then you have to consider, is the germ man a germ man? Is he a germ man? Is this guy a manifestation or a man infestation?
Around 1885 to around 1908, the Belgians, they forced Congolese men to harvest rubber, ivory, and diamonds. And they had quotas. And if they did not meet that quota, the wives and the children of those men would have their hands cut off, and sometimes their feet too.
After King Leopold had his people chop off the hands of African people in the Congo, in Belgium, they made it a practice of selling these chocolate hands that they would eat. So there's always been this culture within white supremacy of consuming blackness in the most vile ways.
Okay, now today you have what? Organ trafficking, organ harvesting. Why? Because our organs still to date still prove to be the most functional. They resist diseases at the highest rate. They will keep you living longer, a whole lot longer. So everything dealing with our organs, our spirituality, us as a people, genetically, biochemically, they attribute it to everything dark, from the clothing to the food, to the coffee, all of it, everything dark. I have to take it because it will make me more powerful. I don't want none white. See, we want white. As Brother Malcolm said, you know, you want to integrate your coffee with a little bit of cream. It'll go down easier. See, because that black is a little too strong, it's a little too harsh. No, they like black coffee. They want it straight black. White women want straight black.
Now, we're aware that during slavery and Jim Crow, the white supremacists would cannibalize black bodies. Now, let's fast forward to a couple of decades ago. You had somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, Jeffrey Dahmer, most of his victims were black men, and he would dismember their bodies, and he would literally cook and eat the bodies of these black men. What's interesting about Jeffrey Dahmer, not only was he cannibalizing and dismembering black people, Jeffrey Dahmer worked at a chocolate factory in Milwaukee. So it was his desire for blackness and chocolate and melanin. It was not only symbolic, it was very literal. So he was the only one who really got caught in modern times. How many other people are doing this?
And I truly, sincerely believe that all of these murders happening with the police and all these different things, they are organ stealing.
They specialize in eating us. A lot of us were sold just as culinary things during the slave trade. But we just focus on this chain and stuff, but a lot of us were just good eating. And a lot of Europeans got in the slave trade for the eating. Yeah, they cooked it. They were actually cooking black people. They hung you up, but they had a fire underneath you. They were cooking us and selling the oil. They sold Nat Turner's oil as an aphrodisiac right here in America.